If I allow myself to go down into that place, I'll never come back.
I feel that a lot of people as of late, including myself, are kind of waiting for a return to form for these DC animated movies. It's not like the good films have stopped releasing. We got The Long Halloween last year. And the year prior, 2020, was a solid year for DC animated movies overall. I don't think anything that came out that year was really great though. They were all pretty good watches, but nothing that blew me away. I remember a time when DC animated movies were just putting out bangers one after another. And due to that, I think we look at these newer DC animated movies with a closer lens. We of course want more great movies, not so much hit and miss. And I just wanted to talk about what I think is the best era of DC animation, this era being 2010 through 2013. It contains five of my favorite DC animated movies ever. And to release 5 movies I have very few problems with, if any, and that I absolutely adore and revisit pretty often, is an incredibly impressive feat. Let me correct that, I just double checked myself. It actually contains 6. 6 movies I genuinely love. So let's go ahead, jump into it, go year by year, starting with 2010. This year saw the release of Justice League Crisis on 2 Earths, Batman Under the Red Hood, and Superman Batman Apocalypse. I will have graphics on screen. From left to right is the order they were released. Just the fact that Crisis on 2 Earths and Under the Red Hood came out back to back is mind-boggling to me. That is debatably the best Batman animated movie made, and the best animated Justice League movie ever made, coming out within months of each other. I think these are both much stronger entries than Superman Batman Apocalypse, but that movie is also good on its own merits. I'm not a huge fan of that animation. The story isn't bad, and I know it has its fans, but I really love the other 2. They are both movies I love and just don't get tired of. They each have magnificent stories, and the voice cast is extremely strong in each. Both really well constructed narratives that you can tell had heart poured into them. Under the Red Hood is definitely one of the most emotional and tragic DC animated movies we've ever had. It, along with Crisis on 2 Earths, both make good use out of every character that they utilize. It doesn't feel like there's a single wasted character in either movie. I don't want to spend too much time talking about these. I've talked about them in the past. I've ranked all the DC animated movies in the past, working on an updated list. So if you want to hear more, you can go check one of those videos out. Moving on to 2011, which I think is the weakest year of the 4. Movies released this year were All-Star Superman, Green Lantern, Emerald Knights, and Batman Year One. I am not a big fan of any of these movies. However, I know Year One and All-Star Superman definitely have their fans, and I could very well be in the minority not loving either of them. I haven't read the All-Star Superman comic, but the movie just isn't really that interesting to me. I'm not a huge fan of the concept or the execution. It's just kind of a boring watch, but I know a lot of people love it. Same with Year One. I am more invested in that movie opposed to All-Star Superman just because I am more of a Batman fan, as you can probably tell if you've seen my channel before. But I'm not a huge fan of the animation style, and parts of the movie definitely drag for me. It's not one I ever want to rewatch. The Gordon moments in this film really help carry it though. I'm not a huge fan of the voice cast either. There's just a lot that doesn't work for me personally. I don't think it's a bad movie though. In Green Lantern Emerald Knights, I actually thought it was a better version of Batman Gotham Knight. Just 6 separate stories, and I think some of the stories are pretty interesting and entertaining, and then there's others that don't really work for me. On to 2012, which very well may be the best year for DC animated movies. Justice League Doom, Superman vs. the Elite, and The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 were all released this year. One of my favorite Justice League movies, maybe my favorite Justice League movie. It's right there competing with Crisis on 2 Earths, and The Dark Knight Returns is up there with the likes of Mask of the Phantasm, Under the Red Hood, and Return of the Joker as the best Batman DC animated movie for me. Superman vs. the Elite is still my favorite Superman movie to date. It's a bit of a slow burn, but once this movie really gets going and puts its foot on the gas, it doesn't let up. I think it just nails everything about Superman's character. It showcases his morals perfectly, and it is a reason Superman has grown on me as a character. This movie really made me care about and be invested in Superman. I've done an entire review on Justice League Doom in the past, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts on that movie, I absolutely adore it. Go check out that review. On to 2013, releasing this year was The Dark Knight Returns Part 2, Superman Unbound, Lego Batman 2, DC Superheroes Unite, the movie, and Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox. Continuing on the topic of The Dark Knight Returns, Batman vs. the Mutant Leader is absolutely one of my favorite scenes of all time. It's got one of the best quotes ever, of course, being, "This isn't a mud hole, it's an operating table." Fantastic, phenomenal. All the fight scenes in the movie are fantastic. Batman versus Joker in the Tunnel of Love, how fitting is it that their lifetime rivalry ends there? Batman versus Superman, it ends in the best way it possibly could. And another great quote from Batman, "I want you to remember the one man who beat you." Moving on to Superman Unbound, this is a bit of a weaker entry. It's also one that I think is okay. It's a bit boring at times. I don't love Supergirl in the film. The end fight between Superman and Brainiac is the highlight of the movie for me. It's actually a pretty good final fight. And I always just love to see Superman, although he's a Kryptonian, embrace his humanity. That's what makes Superman such a great character. Lego Batman 2, the movie, was kind of just Lego Batman 2, the game. It was a lot of cutscenes from that game with some added in here and there. It's not bad at all, but if you played the game, I don't really think there's a point in watching the film because you've basically already seen it. And the final entry in this era of DC animated films that kickstarted a new era in the DC animated movie universe was Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox. The fact that The Dark Knight Returns Part 2 came out this year, and it isn't my favorite DC animated film of 2013, The Flashpoint Paradox speaks volumes to how great this movie was. Reverse Flash is one of the best villains in any of these movies. How the Justice League is incorporated into the movie, yet it is still Flash's movie, is executed to perfection. The Wonder Woman vs. Aquaman fight, the war between Themyscira and Atlantis is epic. Basically, every big DC character gets their moment in the spotlight in this movie, and none of them feel underserved. This being an alternate universe really gave them a lot of leeway, obviously, with characters they killed off and certain decisions they made. And the fact that Barry caused all this through one kind gesture is heartbreaking. I absolutely love Thomas Wayne Batman. Him and Flash throughout the movie are excellent together. They really bounce off one another perfectly. And of course, me being a Batman fan, the end when Barry delivers that letter to Bruce and you see Batman cry is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. One of the most emotional things I've ever seen. It pulls on all the right strings. There's not a single thing I would change about this movie. And with that, it wraps up the best era of DC animation, in my opinion. Like I said before, 6 DC animated movies that are all worthy or at least competing to be in my top 10 DC animated movies ever. There's been like 70 of these movies, and the fact that within 4 years, 6 of them came out that I'd say are among the best of the best. I think this is easily the most consistent DC has been with animated movies, and I'd love to see a run like this again sometime soon. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you think this 4-year span is the best consecutive run that DC animated movies have had? Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you guys for all the support. It truly means a lot. I will see you guys next time.